coming to get you, Barbara.
Oh, the devil. The devil.
The power of the dark side.
Hey guys, welcome to Flix and Comix. Jojo here. So today we're going to be going over Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I'm going to refrain from going into spoiler territory here because I know it's a long movie and it was only released like a couple days ago. So maybe not everybody has been able to block out a 4-hour chunk of their schedule. I totally get you guys. So here you go. I just wanted to put my thoughts out there basically and not have to go into the super nitty gritty of it all. I'll leave that for a later live spoiler heavy discussion. Don't know when I'll be doing that, but just keep an eye out for it. Anyways, guys, going on to my own personal thoughts here. This cut was not for me. And I don't say that I'm not disappointed. I'm not anything. It just is what it is. Like, I wasn't clamoring for this. I wasn't signing those petitions. I was cool with the theatrical cut. And I know, you know, that one got a lot of hate, but I get why. Like, there were definitely issues with that movie for sure. But I was having fun with the content enough so to where I was able to overlook certain things. Certain technical issues. It's a lot like how I feel about the Star Wars prequels. Loads of technical issues with those films, but the story's there. I had fun with it still. I liked it. I enjoy those movies. I can watch them all the time. I can watch these DC movies all the time. And I know not all of you agree with that, but I can't. So why would I want another cut of this Justice League movie? I don't need it. But you know what? I gave this a shot because I am a Zack Snyder fan. I like what he did with the other movies. I like the Dawn of the Dead remake, Watchmen. Not my favorite, but pretty good. So yeah, I thought, you know what? Why not give it a shot? Even though this isn't really what I need. Let's see what he did with it. I think that it's only fair that he gets this opportunity to show the world what he's done, right? Or what he envisioned. So yeah, went into it, and I will say, and I've said this in previous lives as well, I was thinking, okay, when I heard it was going to be a 4-hour cut, I was like, oh, because originally I think they had been flirting with the idea of making it a mini series of some kind, which I was like, okay, maybe. I don't even know what to think about this, right? And then they were like, no, scratch that. We're just putting it out as a 4-hour film. Okay, that landed a little heavier with me. I was like, oh goodness, I wonder why. And that was a little alarming to me as a video editor myself. It's what I do for a living. I was like, well, what is the reasoning behind that? I wonder. And is it justified, you know? Did he really have that much more to say about this movie? Like, did he really have that much more content? So it was weird. One of the reasons I thought could be was maybe that because they had different sets of footage, you know, one from 2017 and, you know, a whole new set of reshoots, that sometimes continuity can be an issue. And when you're trying to cut some scenes out, it's like everything fits like a puzzle, right? When you make a cut. And it's sometimes hard to patch that up, you know, if you remove a scene. You know, sometimes the continuity doesn't match up, or storyline no longer makes sense because obviously there's a piece missing. And that can happen a lot, and that's why it's like you paint yourself into a corner sometimes. And it usually happens when there are issues with the actual, like, filming of it, right? The actual production of it. It doesn't quite align. So you have to make do with what you have. And it, you know, some things are a little off. That's what I thought maybe was happening. Like, they felt like they couldn't cut stuff out because there'd be gaping holes that were obvious, kind of like what happened with BVS, right? And then we got the extended version of that too. But that's why I was like, okay, that's probably the reason that we have this 4-hour film now. Okay, cool. Let's watch it. So I watched it, and the first hour, I was already seeing so many parts where I was just like, snip, snip. I would just, there were so many unnecessary shots, unnecessary angles, scenes in general could come out. They could totally come out. And it wasn't the issue that I was originally thinking, where, sometimes cutting things out, it's like a domino effect and not in your favor, and it's hard to make things then make sense still. No, it was none of that. It's Ice Cream Man. How am I supposed to record videos like this? Now, this is what I've been seeing a lot of in response to this movie. Oh, I loved this movie. Well, why did you love it? It was so much better than the 2017 version. There were just so many improvements made. And in my mind, I'm like, no Sherlock. Like, that's exactly what they set out to do. Like, to me, that's just a given response. Like, of course it is. This movie had its own separate set of rules to go by. It's, for one, rated R. It's 4 freaking hours. You have such a bigger playground to work with. It's in a completely different platform, digital. The advantages it had, it listened to critiques of the 2017 version. It brought in characters that weren't even in the original Snyder cut. Cough, cough, Joker, cough, cough. It's its own behemoth of a thing. Like, this thing is an anomaly. Its very existence is to appease the fans. The entire movie is fan service. That being said, I feel like this can't be ranked with the rest of the movies from the DC cinematic universe in general. And I know I did for you, Carlito. Shout out to Carlito. But I don't think that's correct. I don't think that it's fair to be ranking it alongside a movie that Joss Whedon jumped on midway through and had to still get out by the deadline. It's just not on the same level. I'm sure if you asked Joss Whedon if he would have preferred to have his movie play on HBO Max with all these perks to that, including runtime and rating and all that, I'm sure he would have taken you up on that. This is essentially just a continuation of BVS, right? How did you feel coming out of that movie? Because guess what? That feeling would have affected you going to watch this cut. If the 2017 version of Justice League didn't exist and this movie is what we got in theaters, would you have watched it? Would you have wanted to after you watched BVS? Ask yourself that. Then think about the movie. Think about all the positive things you've been saying about this movie and scratch out all of the ones that compared it to the 2017. Because remember, in this hypothetical, the 2017 version doesn't exist. So scratch, this movie made this character much better. This movie had way better fight scenes and slow-mo or whatever. This movie, gave way more exposition. Those are all critiques dependent on the 2017 version. Scratch all that out. Now tell me, what did you find enjoyable about this movie? I think people are getting a little too, I don't want to say carried away, but they're jumping at the fact that this was a film that fixed all the problems, which it was. And I'm not saying y'all are wrong. It's true. All of that is true. What I just listed, fact. This movie made the 2017 one look awful, right? But that being said, like, did I enjoy this movie? And that's where I can't say that I did. There were also issues with the editing when they were going from scene to scene, or even just shot by shot within a scene. It was pretty jarring at times. And honestly, the pacing of this movie was everywhere. I mean, a lot of stop and goes. It was like they would give you a scene with the team where you were a little more invested, you were a little more curious to know where it was leading up to, and then hard cut into a scene with Superman, his mom, and Lois, where it was like slow moving molasses, you know, and where you just kind of wanted to go back to the other thing and see what happened there. Timing was just bad, and I could tell that they were struggling with transitioning between subplots. Another weird thing, the music. The music was oddly placed in this. The songs were fine. It wasn't really about the actual tracks themselves, or it was just, I don't know if they just didn't compose for the scene, but it seemed like they didn't. It was very jarring when the music cues would come in. I don't know why, it just seemed off at times. Yeah, but it was very noticeable to me. Again, I'm an editor, so these things stick out to me like sore thumbs. But yeah, also the mix, the audio mix, something, I don't know if maybe it's just my system. I doubt it, because all the other movies I've watched are fine. It was really hard to hear, especially when it came to Batman and Steppenwolf. Because Batman. And then Steppenwolf was more of like a lisp, like a, I don't know. It was really hard. I had to, kind of slow it. I had to repeat certain scenes because I wasn't getting it for a lot of the time. And yeah, I had everything cranked up, everything. So I think it was just the mix itself. But yeah, just stuff like that sticks out to me a lot. Are these huge things? No, these are just nitpicks, but these things add up. Why do they add up? And why didn't they add up in other movies that I overlooked technical issues with? Because this movie wasn't fun for me. Like, I didn't enjoy the content like I did with some of the other movies. You know, I can overlook these technical issues all day long if I'm having fun, but I wasn't having fun with this. In fact, I was sleeping. I had to rewatch the entire last hour because I fell asleep, guys. That's not good. The beginning was pretty slow, and then the middle was okay, and then towards the end was more of the action was, so I was like annoyed that I like fell asleep, but that's how checked out I was. I didn't care what was happening. Didn't matter what kind of action scenes were in front of me. I just didn't care. It's kind of silly, the stuff that they kept in. That in itself made me wonder why. Why did they keep this stuff in? My only guess, well, I have two things that could potentially be. One being that Zack Snyder wanted to give you the full picture no matter what. Like, this is what he was gonna do, period. It's the purest form of what he envisioned. Second reason, I think he might have left in those seemingly irrelevant scenes is for a continuation. He wants to make a sequel to Justice League. And I think he said as much, right? He's announced that he did have that in mind to make a sequel, but he hasn't gotten the go-ahead to do so. I think he's very hopeful that he will, and the fact that he left these scenes in that make you question certain things, that introduce certain things, I mean, he's clearly planting the seeds even though they don't make sense within the movie. It made zero sense to keep them otherwise. I think he just left them in case they allowed him to do the sequel. There were some things I liked about it, obviously. I really loved the scene in Themyscira. I'm not going to go into it, but there is a scene in Themyscira that was very cool. Darkseid looked pretty cool. I wish he had more to do in this, but that's all I'm going to say about that for now. I really did enjoy what they did with Flash. Wasn't so thrilled with what they did with Cyborg. But I know that's probably an unpopular opinion right now, which is fine, you know, to each their own, right? But overall, guys, I wouldn't watch this again. But you know, it's just me. Like, this is one girl's opinion, and you know, that's that. It's not a big deal. This is my channel. This is what I do. I put my opinion out there, and we could talk about it in the comments civilly. Oh, also, the aspect ratio, it didn't bug me that much. I think it was a silly decision, but it is what it is. Like, it ultimately didn't really affect the way I felt about the movie. So if I'm gonna grade this movie, I was bored out of my mind. So I need to take that into account. It was too long, and yes, there were some cool parts for sure. And yeah, some cool character moments for sure. But does that make a great movie? So I think I would have to give it a C-. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the C-. Anyways, guys, you let me know how you feel down in the comments, and watch out. Watch out with those pitchforks. I'm gonna be dodging those all weekend, I'm sure. But anyways, guys, if you like this video, give me a like or subscribe or both. I don't hate it. You can catch me on Twitter and on Instagram at Flix and Comix. And I guess I'll catch you over there later.